Hello, everyone. My name is Erica, and I'm here with Anthony. We will be discussing the issues of drug driving. I am sure all of you have heard about this issue with adolescents, but also with adults. What is drug driving? I didn't know what drug driving was. I thought it was drunk driving, use of alcohol during driving. It is that, but also drug driving includes the use of illegal drugs or misuse of prescription drugs, which make driving a car unsafe. Alcohol, marijuana is the drug most often linked to drugged driving. Facts on drug driving. If you do not know this already, vehicle accidents are a leading cause of death among young adults, aged 16 to 20. This can be from not wearing a seatbelt to use of prescription drugs, legal or illegal drugs. This is a big deal for adolescents. It is something teachers, parents, and adolescents should be aware of. It is not a joke. National survey on drug use and health show that men are more likely than women to drive under the influence of drugs or alcohol, and a higher percentage of young adults aged 18 to 25 drive after taking drugs or drinking than do adults 26 or older. Why, you might ask? I'll get back to that in the next slide. Also, a survey taken back in 2011, middle and high school students show that in the 2 weeks before the survey, 12% of the high school seniors have driven after using marijuana, compared to the around 9% who have driven after drinking alcohol. The effects of drugs differ depending on how they act in the brain. For example, marijuana can slow reaction time, impair judgment of time and distance, and decrease coordination. Drivers who have used cocaine or meth can be aggressive and reckless when driving. Certain kinds of drugs called benzo can cause dizziness and drowsiness. Alcohol can cause blurry vision and distorted vision. As a result, some states have zero tolerance laws for drug driving. This means a person can face charges for driving under an influence, and if there is any amount of drug in their blood or urine. The issues are simple. Teen drivers are less experienced and are more likely than older drivers to underestimate or not recognize dangerous situations. They are also more likely to speed and allow less distance between vehicles. When lack of driving experience is combined with drug use, the results can be tragic. Now, I'm not saying because adults have more experience, it is okay to drive under the influence of any drug. It is not, and should be taken seriously, because it is not only your life, but your friend, or someone's friend, or a family member. Peer pressure is another big factor for why adolescents drive under the influence of drugs, because they do not want to be called names, or be bullied for saying no. I hope this answered why teens are more likely to drive under the influence of drugs or drinking. So, what can we do to help prevent this in adolescents or in adults?
Preventative steps to drug driving. There are several steps that we can take to try to prevent drug driving. If you know you're going to a party where people are going to be using drugs and alcohol, you can designate a driver to make sure that you don't get behind the wheel while drugged and be a danger to yourself and others. Also, you can offer to be a key collector at an event where there's drug driving, so that if people happen to get drunk or use drugs, you will have collected their keys, and they would have to ask for their keys before they got in their car behind the wheel and started driving while drugged. And that way you can assess whether or not they have been drugged. You could ask other people at the party whether this person has been using drugs or drinking, and then you can use your discernment and make sure that you don't give their keys to them and try to find a ride with somebody else, or have them stay there until they sober up. Another preventative step you can take is try to talk about the risks of drug driving and how dangerous it can be with your friends before anybody becomes intoxicated or starts drinking, and that way it stays in their mind and it's something that they can reflect upon before they decide to get behind the wheel. Or it may even stop them from using drugs or drinking in the first place, because they'll weigh the risks and just decide not to do it. It's better not to do it. Also, if you know you've been using drugs or drinking and you're still somewhat lucid, of course, not enough to be driving, preventing a high risk and danger to yourself and others, but have enough mental capacity to ask somebody for a ride to realize on drugs or been drinking. You could ask somebody who's sober for a ride home, and that way you would prevent these risks. Preventative steps for drug driving related accidents. If it just so happens that somebody has, or yourself, has made the mistake of getting behind the wheel, started driving while drugged or under the influence of alcohol, which is a very, very dangerous thing to do. But if it happens and you have your seatbelt on, that can prevent it from being worse or even a fatal accident if an accident occurs while drug driving. Also, very simple approach is not to drug and drive, period. No, don't use any drugs or drink and drive. And also, if you are a sober driver, designated driver, there are times where the person that you're driving who's intoxicated may be acting erratically, be very distracting, or do things like grab the wheel and pull it because they're not in their right mind. That could be very dangerous and also cause an accident, which can be fatal or very harmful. So just those are some preventative steps that you can take to try to mitigate those outcomes. How teachers can help. There are several ways that teachers can help, but I think the best way is to follow the SAFE acronym. First of all, make sure that your students are safe. If they give you any idea that they're in danger, make sure that right away you act and do something about that. Student has been drinking or they're talking about how they've been on drugs or drinking before and were driving, address the issue right away, but don't do it in a way that makes them feel like they're wrong for what they did, or just let them know that you're aware of what's going on and that you know how they feel, and then educate them about the situation. And I think that's the best way that a teacher can help.
Thank you, Anthony, for the great information. I hope this information was insightful and useful to everyone. We will leave you with our bibliography and to always remember drug driving is never an easy topic to talk about, but a must.